we're going to Athens. But this, I think, for me, my knowledge of it, this is where things started to change within British cycling. Was that because of the success Jason and you guys had?
Well, Jason really was the one who got it all started, and I don't think he necessarily gets the credit that he deserves, because that gold medal in Sydney was huge for the sport. It allowed us to get more funding, so we got an even bigger piece of the pie from the lottery funding. So you have all the different sports in the UK vying for a piece of this funding, and because cycling got a gold medal, we had even more money, so we could spread that kind of money a little bit wider, more athletes getting support. And
did this turn into a job then? Because before
no,
you said you were...
Well, it was never a job. It was because a job implies you're doing it just to get paid.
But
it became more professional. I think this was when I started to really think about recovery, rest, the bigger picture, not just turn up for training, do the training and come home.
Yeah.
It was everything you do throughout the day has an impact on your rest and your recovery, how you're going to prepare for the next session that you're doing. And
but no more studying. No
more studying, no.
Sydney.
But I used the knowledge I got from my sports science to apply, because we didn't have coaches like we have now. So I was still writing my training program for Athens, and I present it to the coaches and say, this is what I'm doing.
Oh, wow.
And they would then sort of question stuff, or they would basically facilitate the training that I'd given them. But if they thought it was, we'll change this or swap that, then I would have to explain why.
Yeah.
And it was quite good because it challenged my philosophy. But it was, a lot of it was based on what Jason did. So you have the Olympic champion from 4 years before in the kilo, and you're learning from his template. Wow. But I always needed a bit more training than Jason. He needed more rest, and I like to push myself more.
So do you think you took responsibility for your own training?
Oh, definitely,
in a way?
yeah. You had to, because the first time we had a coach that you really properly just said, I'm going to follow what you're doing, would have been Jan van Eyden in 2006 or 7.
Oh, wow.
So, up until then, I was doing it. We were all writing our own training programs, Craig McLean, Jason Quealy, myself. So, yeah, it was not to say that I was doing it all myself. I still had the support of all the team around me, but I decided what and when I was training, or how I was training. So, it was the kilo, 2004, the last ever Olympic kilo. So I'm still technically Olympic kilo champion. Yeah. Take that, Harry.
There's enough. You got enough.
There's one thing you can't beat. Yeah.
Talk to me through this, though, because you looked at this picture a minute ago, and I don't know if you can see this picture here. It's a is it a Paralympic
that suit? So they had the skin suits.
I love these little details.
Yeah, they only had the para skin suit. The Olympic skin suit was slightly different, and they had the para had one Olympic suit and then 2 para ones for the 3 days of competition. Because
these
the
are
Olympic
fancy
ones
suits then?
These weren't fancy. These were like the sort of suits you could buy for like 70 quid in the,
Oh,
but
wow.
they weren't aero, they weren't special. I mean, really basic, and I think I did a 1:07 in the kilo on 51:14. So you look back now and you see the position I was in was terrible. And you think, God, if you had a bit more aero, bigger gears, you could have gone a bit quicker. But it was, just that night was so special. I was the last to go, so I had to sit and watch 3 riders break the world record before I went on the track. Shane Kelly, Stefan Nimke, and then Arno Turno. And getting on the track, so the bike went into the gate, and I was still sitting at the side, chalking my hands up, getting ready, and they started the clock. And in all the noise of the stand, I just heard one voice shout, "Chris!" And it was Jason Quealy. And he was in the stands. He said, "The clock started." So I kind of ran on the track in my cycling shoes, jumped in with about 25 seconds to go. And if Jason hadn't shouted, they probably would have started, because they were quite strict back in those days with the timings and stuff. So
did you feel pressure from Jason winning Athens to this now? And obviously him sat in the stand. I know he's a good friend of yours.
And you just feel pressure from yourself wanting, there's loads of external pressure, but I think there's nothing, for most athletes, there's nothing that matches your own desire to win and your own expectation. So you can feel public pressure, but really the biggest is from within. But it was, to me, I think that was still the biggest win of my career. Wow. The first time you become Olympic champion, the first time you go from not being an Olympic champion to being an Olympic champion, which you are for the rest of your life. It's such a big moment, and you can win world titles, you can win you can win World Cups and European titles, but until you win the Olympics, you never know if it's possible. So that was a huge moment for me.
So you'd say that overruled your first Olympic medal?
Yes, yeah, the first gold was the big one, really.
Big one.
Yeah.
And you are dressed like a bit of a Greek god here, don't
Well, you get we had the
see
laurel
this here.
wreath on the podium. And you can see I've got scabby arms there.
I
I've
was
got
gonna say.
skinned arm, skinned elbow, all down my side. So I had my last interval session on the turbo in the village about 6 days before. And that was the last proper session. And I did a PB power output. So we used to do
What was it?
30 seconds on, minute off times 4.
This is like what
And
you
it
do
was-
for endurance. This is
Well,
a lot.
it was brutal, but I did over 900 watts average for those 2 minutes. And I remember coming in and just, after recovering from it, doing a cool down ride around the village. And I came towards this little mini roundabout and there was a bus,
How long was this before the race?
6 days before. And the bus just kept coming and I suddenly realised, wait a minute, what's the rules about right of way and roundabouts in Greece? And I think I was probably expecting him to slow down and he wasn't. So I had to kind of almost speed up to get round ahead of him. And as I did that, the front wheel just lost grip and I went straight down. So my whole left side was absolutely skinned.
So 6 days before you
6 days
basically
before.
skinned yourself?
Yeah, but I was immediately landed, thought, collarbone, wrist, yeah, I think all the bones are okay. Went straight to the BOA medical bay and got patched up. But thankfully, no serious damage. But that could have been it.
I was going to say, knowing what British cycling are like, the stress running through everyone there would have been something unbearable. Absolutely unbearable.